Hey, it's cftracking.com here, a review website for CrossFit training devices or things that would benefit CrossFit training. Up for initial review is the Suunto Baro 9. One of the people that commented on one of the sites said they'd like a review of this and maybe even alongside another watch. And so this is the first initial review of this particular watch, giving you the basics, and then we're going to look at a hands-on just so you can see how some of the screens function as well as the app functions. And then up soon or alongside this post will be a comparison of the Suunto 9 versus the Garmin Fenix 6. And looking at the Suunto 9, it's a 50.5 millimeter width, and they say that it's 17 millimeters thick when it's really, when taking it to a measuring device, 16.6 millimeters. The weight came in at 74 grams, even versus what the website says of 76 grams. Screen size is about 1.4 inches on the size of the screen. It is a transflective screen. The bezel on this particular one is the titanium bezel, which gives it that lighter weight, and the sapphire glass, so much stronger glass than Gorilla Glass. The resolution 320 by 300. There's just sort of a bottom little cutout on the bottom that takes the resolution out of the bottom. The bands are quick release 24 millimeter bands, and it's rated at 14 days, although we're getting a little bit less. I'll make a mention of that in a little bit. It includes a bunch of different features. We're going to go through some of the features, but one of the things that Suunto does, that Garmin does, is they contract out the analytics for the training and for the overall wellness and recovery. So this will track your resources, which is a comparison to what Garmin lists as body battery. It'll do your training output, both in your training exertion level, as well as your EPOC, which is your exercise post-oxygen consumption score. All that'll come through in the workout, and I'll show you some of the details. It'll give you a recovery time built into each workout. Show you that. This is actually a touch screen. It's not touch screen enabled in every single function, which you necessarily wouldn't want it to be, but it is touch screen, so you can move between screens with either a button press or the touch screen itself, which Garmin's Fenix doesn't offer. You get 8 built-in watch faces. You can tap the watch faces to change some of the data screens, although it's not fully customizable. It's got one alarm, a countdown, timers. It does both tone and vibration alerts and alarms. You get notifications from your watch like you would expect with any. You have some customizable data screens, so you can set up your data screens in the app for different sports profiles, and it's got a million different sports profiles. Suunto is one of the only device manufacturers that actually lists a CrossFit sports profile, which is great. It obviously just includes some of the basic stats you might be able to track on any device, but it's nice just to have it fully set up just in the beginning. A few tweaks or minor details about the heart rate. You don't get an all-day heart rate chart in the app, although it will track your heart rate all day. It doesn't do it at 1 second intervals. It does it a little bit more spaced out. I think it might be 10 minutes, and maybe one of the firmware updates actually maybe tracks it a little bit more. But you don't get that information very clearly, as well as in the sleep tracking aspect. You don't get a heart rate chart like you would in some of the other devices. Still looking at how it's going to track load or training exertion level over time. Right now it's accumulating a time of training for a week, but not tracking like a particular load goal for the fitness level, but still have a lot to set up here. It does do sleep, and in some in-depth sleep analysis, you don't get the same details, which we'll see in a hands-on in a second, as you might get with some of the other manufacturers. But let's get into hands-on. Again, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any interest in seeing more reviews for devices that help your CrossFit training, please subscribe for more upcoming reviews. This is a dedicated channel that's supposed to, specifically focused on devices that might help training for CrossFit. So with that, let's get into the hands-on. Okay, so this is the hands-on of the Suunto 9. We're going to look at the watch and the app to show you some basic components of it. Again, 50.5 millimeters wide and 16.6 millimeters thick. With the Valence Cell heart rate monitor on the back, you can see that the watch band is a 24 millimeter with a quick release. It is a really unique watch band. It's very thick, and it's got a hexagonal shape to it. I actually really like it a lot and feel like it's very comfortable. 3 buttons on the side. They all have a really solid button press feel to them. Not too difficult, but not too soft as well. This one has the titanium bezel and the sapphire glass. So obviously a lot more durable and lighter. So looking at the basic components, you land here on your basic watch face page, and you can scroll down. You get stats for heart rate, which any of these you can dive into just to be able to see your heart rate over time. I think when you're not in a workout, it tracks it in 10-minute intervals. The screen is touch screen, so at any point you can swipe back and swipe around. This is the resource tab. So this is like Garmin's body battery. I really like this component a lot. It's, they outsource it to First Beat, which tracks your heart rate variability over time. Obviously, they're doing it in 10-minute increments, and you can see that you replenish or you regenerate over your awake time, and you decrease over your, you regenerate over your sleep time, you decrease over your wake time. But still a very highly useful health statistic. Scroll down, you just get your basic steps or your calories for different periods of time. Touchscreen works, really well. And again, this is just an initial review. I'm going to use the watch over a period of time to be able to see how it evaluates training load and exertion levels of the workouts, because obviously that ties into CrossFit training more than anything else does. You can see your recovery time. It's, I've tapped out, so my last workout did not have any recovery left. And sometimes if you double press the screen, it'll actually go back. So back to the training. It tracks your training over a period of time, and it shows you a training plan. You have a goal, set a number of hours that you want to work out per week, and it'll deplete that time over your period, for the week itself. It shows you your activities over the course of the week. And then we're back to the training. You can actually obviously click in. When you click the screen, it oscillates between the recovery time and the training time for that week. Your altitude, obviously, a barometric altimeter is built into it. It does have a temperature gauge, so it picks up the temperature for the area as well. Very similar to some of the higher end watches. You can click into it and see your altitude over time and your barometric pressure over time. So useful for high altitude training and climbing. Your sleep metric, you obviously just get the basics on the watch itself, but it can show you your sleep weekly at a glance. And you can scroll down and see your logbook. Last night, it'll give you a quality rating. This one shows moderate, which will give you a sleep score of 50%. So shows you the sleep quality. This is similar to Garmin's sleep score number, and it is sort of outsourced. It is outsourced by First Beat. Your average heart rate, it does not give you your resting heart rate during sleep, which is unfortunate. It shows your time awake and time you fell asleep in the deep sleep. It doesn't show you the REM sleep, though, so you're missing some of the components there. You can swipe to the right to scroll back to any of the previous screens, and it shows you your heart rate over time. When you go into a workout, you can just double tap the screen. It'll go back to the main watch screen. You can change this watch face, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But when you go into the workout, it's all really relatively easy compared to most of the workout watches that are on the market today. You just scroll down. You can set it up to where it has your most used exercises built in, and you can add a whole bunch of different ones from the website and from the app, and you can also change the data screens available during the app. So within a standard workout, it's going to look for heart rate. You can see the heart rate flashing here on the back. It has tracked, at least in the first workout, it did track relatively well. So when you start this, you get a set of summary stats. This is how I set it up, so you can customize any of these things, and you can set an automatic lap if you're doing rounds per time by hitting the bottom button. You can end the workout there, which we will do. You rate the workout. We'll discount it. Very good. So it saves it and it's done. Then it'll give you the stats and the summary of the workout itself. Obviously, this one's going to have to be deleted, but you can look in, you can dive into those things, all the stats within the watch as well as within the app, and I'll show you what that looks like. So that's the workout. It does not include a serene or a breathing exercises. You have navigation built in. We're CrossFit focused website, so I'm not going to look at the navigation aspects. You have your logbook, and I'll show you what it looks like from a workout itself built into the logbook. What type of stats you will get. That just shows the laps. And it'll show you the basic summary of the heart rate throughout time. It actually gives you a little graph on the watch, your intensity zones, calories, the recovery time estimate, 13 hours. It wasn't incredibly difficult. And I'm also seeing if the AI within the watch will get better over time. I think 13 hours is a little bit low, especially considering it's an exertion score of 3.3. So this compares to Garmin's training effect. So 3.3 would be the aerobic training impact or a training effect within a Garmin system. And the Epoch trains is somewhat similar to Polar's rating system. So it's the title of it is, exercise post-oxygen consumption. But either way, it's a similar, they use both scoring type of systems. It's not the exact, Polar calls it something like TRIMP, but the Epoch, so you can get a score, at least for your workout, to be able to gauge how much exertion you put in that workout. The PTE is on a scale of 0 to 5. The Epoch is just a constant scale, so it can go very, very high. But then you get your elevation. So you get a lot of the great same stats. We'll show that in the watch in just a second. So that's in your logbook, which you want to get out of, and then you basically have just generic timers in your settings. I'll show you a couple things within settings just because some of these are relatively useful. The backlight, not every watch, all of Polar's watches don't have adjustable backlight brightness, and a lot of the Suuntos do not. So this is one of the only Suunto devices that has adjustable backlight. You have two different modes. Toggle means you'll leave it all the way always on unless you choose to double tap and turn it off, or automatic just means that it'll turn on when you actually need it or want it. So when you hit a button down, up or down or touch the screen, it'll turn the backlight on in full. The standby mode actually I like a lot. It just is a super low level backlight that's on all the time, so that you don't, because one of the things that's a big difference in the Suunto 9 is you don't have a wrist raised backlight. So I just keep the standby backlight on all the time so that in low level light situations you can see. And then you can set the brightness, and you can change the brightness level however you want it, which is fantastic, which is something I wish Polar would have added in there. And then just to quickly show you the watch faces as one of the other primary things that you might want to see in person. So you have basically eight different watch faces you can choose from, and you don't get the customization level for the specific stats within a watch face. You can change the color, and then you can go see that watch face. So there's 8 different ones, and then if you tap, you will get a variance for the type of data that you see on the screen. So you can go just through a few basics. There's typically anywhere from 4 to 6 different data aspects, and it's just that one thing. So you can tap anywhere on the screen, it's just going to change that one area. So that's the data screen. Let's look at the app just really quickly. When you get to the landing page of the app itself, you can see there's just a few basic things on the bottom here. So you have your home page, which just accumulates, and this is obviously very simple compared to Polar and compared to Garmin, because you'd only get a few basic stats within the app. So the home page gives you the stats for this week as well as stats for today. This is the only thing you're going to see about your sleep. It's just a simple summary. Now that might be enough because you see your deep sleep amount, your average heart rate, and then the sleep score. But you don't see your disturbances, you don't see your heart rate, you don't see your movement over time, you don't see a lot of those same stats that you see within Polar and Garmin's ecosystem. You obviously see your steps and your total calories, and you can track that across time. So you set your training goal. You can go into your logbook. This is where you have sort of a diary of different things. So it starts with the activities, only one activity recorded on Sunday, your steps over the course of time, over your calories burned over the course of time, your sleep over the course of time, and you can see those same basic summary of stats. Again, not high level analysis, and then you can do a fitness level. I haven't done a fitness test because you have to do a a run, which I'm going to do before I do the full review. This is just the initial. It gives you a heat map. This is one of the neat things about Suunto is you can see highly used areas within the GPS system. This is a heat map of different, places where people have run. The brighter the area, the more people have run that track or that segment. You can set goals and connect with friends, and then you can update your details. Update your details there. So that's the basic summary. Looking at a particular workout, and this is one of the things that I do like about it is that it does have a CrossFit specific workout. It gives you a picture of CrossFit, which is nice. But it shows you the basic summary of stats. So average heart rate, max heart rate, these are all standard stats. The recovery time is shown. One of the things that Garmin does is it gives you recovery time, but it doesn't show you the recovery time that you created or needed at the end of that workout. It just starts tracking it on the watch, but you can't see, oh, this workout produced this much recovery time. There's the PTE, which it gives you, they do a good job of explaining what that is. That compares to the training effect with Garmin. The epoch, it explains what that is. And you get your heart rate zones. You do have a temperature gauge because it has a temperature built into the watch. Heart rate zones, you can't click on it and get the big screen like you can with Polar and Garmin. You can see your temperature over time, and you can see the laps tracked if you did rounds per time for a workout. Obviously it shows you the same, the training areas or what percentage of time you're in different zones of heart rate. So that's what a workout looks like, and this is what the overall app looks like. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to continue to test this in depth with regard to CrossFit training and load and how it evaluates those things and reports back to you how you're doing with your training expansion and growth. So stay tuned. Please subscribe if you can, if you have an interest, and keep an eye out for the comparison of the Suunto 9 versus the Phoenix 6. But this is the initial overview, the initial summary, initial snapshot of the Suunto 9, specifically the Baro, barometric pressure, and titanium bezel.